Hi, I'm Emily Trammell, and for this week in Media Law and Ethics, I decided to read Chapter 2, which is The Morally Developed Media Professional. The chapter starts out by talking about how ethics is a skill that we all should have, and it requires us to pay attention to our motivations and choices that we make so that we can get better at understanding the certain situations we are put in. The first little subtitle is called Moral Development in Theory. Human moral development happens in a consistent and predictable way, but it also depends on the environment we are put in. Moral sophistication describes what we are capable of, not how we act in different situations. So, for example, if you are at a restaurant and the waiter is taking your order, you're capable of speaking, rudely to them, but you shouldn't do that. Psychologists have identified important signs to indicate where people are progressing through the stages towards sophisticated reasoning. So now we're going to talk about who's who in moral development theory. Research in moral development began in the early 20th century when Jean Piaget, a Swiss psychologist, studied a group of kids who created their own rules to the game they were playing. Lawrence Kohlberg, who is another psychologist, is often referred to as the father of moral development theory. He first indicated specific markers that revealed how people perceived what was right and what was wrong. His theory, along with other psychologists who helped him out, provides a multidimensional view of making choices that affect one's reasoning. True moral sophistication means not just making choices that promote goodness, but also making the choices for the right reasons. An example of that being a student did well on a math test, like he aced it, he passed his math test. But that may be because that student looked at their neighbor's test and didn't, try coming up with the answer on their own. Now we're going to talk about the 3 stages of moral development: the early stage, the conventional stage, and the later stage. The early stage starts out by talking about Carol Gilligan, who was a psychologist who worked with Kohlberg. She said a morally immature person perceives herself as powerless, working to protect herself from those who might cause her harm. Kohlberg then says a person in the early stages of moral development is motivated by the desire to get a reward and escape punishment. William Perry, who was also another psychologist who worked with Kohlberg, described learners in the early stages of ethical development as being dogmatic and dependent on external authority for the correct answer. We're now going to talk about the conventional stage of moral development. That is technically the middle stage, and it's called conventional because this is where most people are at when they operate. Gilligan described working from this level as seeing that they have the power to assist others. So people have the power to assist others. Kohlberg says that in this level, people look to peers and to the rules and laws to decide what is right and what is wrong. For example, sports teams, they follow rules during whatever game they're playing and decide what is right to do and what is wrong to do. In the later stage and the last stage, the later stage of moral development, the realization that each person is responsible for his or her own decisions is an important step to the road of moral sophistication. Morally sophisticated decision-making is autonomous. The individual is able to reason beyond the reflex to do as he or she is told. Morally sophisticated choices aim to contribute to the overall good of the community. Morally sophisticated decision-making takes time and effort. Some people might not have the decision-making skills set faster than others. Morally sophisticated thinking requires being conscious of the decisions that we make and the justification that we use in making them. So that is what Chapter 2 was about. It was mainly about who, started developmental theories and the 3 stages of moral development. Thanks.